West Vincent Elementary School. It's not bad for an entire school saying good morning, almost at the same time. Okay, we are going to start our assembly by rising for the pledge and a pledge of the Star Spangled Banner.
Michael, I like your tripod.
Yes.
We have a tripod.
I was just saying, when the equipment budget isn't there, we improvise.
Look, we have a tripod right there.
Okay, you may be seated. All right, so if we can give a round of applause to the very talented Miss Jennings and Miss Webster. All right, well, good morning, everybody. If we have not met before, I'm Jeff Detweiler, principal at West Vincent Elementary School. It is fantastic to welcome our veterans and families here today to honor Veterans Day, so thank you so much for joining us. So next up for our assembly is to recite the Pledge of Allegiance together as a school. But before we begin the pledge, let's take a moment to explore why we actually say the pledge each day. Perhaps the most important reason is that we honor our amazing country, the United States of America, by reciting the pledge each day. Our flag, with its beautiful stars and stripes, represents so many things to so many people, including equality for all and the freedom to enjoy life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Not to mention, we get to come to school each day and receive an amazing education at this beautiful school. We are so lucky to live in the United States of America because not everyone in the world gets to enjoy the same freedoms that we do. Part of the reasons we get to have freedom in the United States is because we have so many amazing people who have honorably agreed to defend our country. They've joined a branch of the armed forces such as the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Marines, the Coast Guard, the National Guard, or now even Space Force too. Today, we honor all who served on this special day we call Veterans Day. And one of the ways we can honor our veterans is by honoring the American flag. And we'll do that together by reciting the pledge. So at this time, I invite members of our student council to join me in helping to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, thank you, student council. So, everybody's already standing, thank you for that. place your right hand over your heart and face the flag. And now, please begin with myself and the student council. I pledge allegiance Thank you very much. You may be seated. And thank you very much, Student Council. You may be seated. All right. Well, we'll continue while our Student Council members are finding their seats. We once again want to thank our veterans for displaying incredible amounts of selflessness through their service to our country. We are forever in your debt for keeping our country free, and it is our absolute pleasure to honor you today. While one day of celebration does not equal the years of service you've provided to our country, we hope on this Veterans Day you feel honored, appreciated, and loved. You are truly special to us, and we thank you so much for joining us. So let's give our veterans a huge round of applause to begin our assembly. Okay, now it's my pleasure to turn it over to Ms. Webster for the Singing of America.
Hi everybody, are you ready to sing? All right, here we go.
All right. Well, we have some incredibly talented essay writers, and they are on their way up right now to share their essays with us this morning. So when they get up here, we're going to start with Sanchi Nador for our first essay.
Good morning, students, staff, and lovely veterans. My name is Sanchi Mather, and today I am so grateful to be celebrating Veterans Day with all of you. Former U.S. President George W. Bush once said, "What veterans have given to our country is beyond our power to fully repay. Yet, today we recognize our debt to their honor." On the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, the fighting of World War I ended in 1918. Due to the conclusion of the War to End All Wars, November 11th became a universally recognized day of celebration. One thing to celebrate on this special day is sacrifices. Sacrifices come in many different shapes and forms. Soldiers often have to spend long periods of time away from their family and friends, missing important events and milestones in their loved ones' lives. They may have to endure harsh living conditions, face danger of certain things on a daily basis, and even make the ultimate sacrifice of giving their lives in service to the country. Despite these challenges and hardships, our military men and women continue to serve with courage, dedication, and unwavering commitment. Their sacrifices should never be taken for granted. So today, we celebrate all the veterans performing today, as well as many others sacrificing their lives in battle to protect us. Without these soldiers, America would not be what it is today. America would not be alive and thriving. Without these soldiers, America would be living in constant fear, or simply without freedom. These men and women were ordinary people until they heard the call of duty and answered it. They left their families, their homes, and their lives. Not for recognition or fame or in the honor we show them today. They fought to protect our country, to maintain our way of life. One day may not be enough to fully honor all that we have done for this country. It is our responsibility as citizens to honor your sacrifices, not just through speeches and thank yous, but by uniting together, bound by gratitude and inspired by your service. Let us each strive to honor you, not just today, but every day. Thank you for your sacrifices, for your valor, for the things you carried, for protecting us, for defending our rights. Thank you.
Only sometimes we really think how veterans and fields have helped us through. You go out to different countries to fight for peace and liberty with love, risking your lives to save many more. You give innocent families a chance for a better life. Tragedies occur and sacrifices are made, yet you stand there tall, bold and strong, fearless. You're the reason we travel from place to place and live happy lives, protected. We never have to worry about war or famine, but sometimes it's real, and you fix that. We can learn so much from you. You never give up, you never let us down. You sacrifice much of yours to give the world more. You give your time and your wonderful life. You fight for the good, just as we should too. And we just want you to know how grateful we really are. We love you and wish you the best. Thank you for everything you've done, and you've made this world a better place.
Dear veterans, welcome to West Vincent. I'd like to start by addressing the sacrifices you veterans have made. You sacrifice your time spent with your family and friends. You sacrifice time for personal passions. You sacrifice your safety. You experience terrible after terrible wars and bloodshed you wish you could unsee. You sacrifice your health and you get injured. All these sacrifices you make are to serve our country, to keep our country safe, to fight for our country. I really appreciate all your sacrifices made for our country. Thank you so much for every sacrifice you make, every battle you fight, the difficulties you experience, every dangerous thing you've ever done for the sake of our country. Our country would never be the same without you. You are our only hope for a safe country. Thank you so much, and I really hope you can see that all your sacrifices, your effort, and your hard work are what makes our country a safe place today.
All right, so let's give Sanchi, Nabiha, and Arna a great big round of applause for their speeches this morning. Okay, and so it is my pleasure to turn it over to some of our West Vincent Orchestra students for My Country Tis of Thee. Well done, friends. Thank you. And so, I believe now we have a special presentation by our kindergarten students called See the Veteran. Great job, kindergarten. Let's give them another round of applause. All right, and now it's time for some members of our West Vincent band to play America the Beautiful.
Scoot up a little bit more. I did, yeah. Okay. One, two, three.
Well done, band. Thank you very much. And so at this time, it is my pleasure to be able to honor our veterans that are here with us today with certificates of appreciation. So I get to say a few words about each veteran, and then if the veteran can go ahead and come on up to receive their certificate. So I start with Robert Reimer, grandfather of Audrina Shoemaker, served for 2 years in the United States Army from 1966 to 1968. And some notable information, also served in Vietnam from 1967 to 1968. So Robert, come on up and join us. Give him a round of applause. All right, next up is Brian Connell, godfather to all 4 of Mrs. Ippolito's children. Served in the United States Marine Corps, 4 years of active duty. Notable information was in logistics and embarkation chief, 5th Marine Regiment, Camp Pendleton, California, 3rd FSSG in Okinawa, Japan, and a logistics clerk as well too. So Brian, thank you so much for your service. And this is the video, guys, in the picture. All right, next up is Erin Sostrom, mother of Pete Sostrom, served in the Navy for 9 years, from 2003 to 2012. Some notable information, doctor for submariners and Navy doctors. So Erin, thank you so much for your service. All right, next up is Joseph Brendel, stepdad to Mrs. Bennett. Joseph served in the United States Air Force, Master Sergeant retired, years served 33 years, from 1966 to 1999. Some notable information, served in the tent city at Clark Air Base in the Philippines during the evacuation of South Vietnamese who helped us during the war. Served as the camp medic at Camp O'Donnell in Capas Tarlac. Also treated Queen Mary of the Negritos when he worked in the emergency room at the base hospital. The Negritos helped our American soldiers during World War II. So Mr. Brendel, if you can join us up here. All right, next up is Clem Frost, father of Jameson Frost. Clem served in the Army for 8 years from 2004 to 2012. Some notable information to share. He's a West Point graduate and served in the 101st Airborne Division. He had the privilege of leading soldiers during deployments to Baghdad, Iraq in 2006 and Eastern Afghanistan in 2008. Thank you, Mr. Frost. All right, next up is Ron Furiato, father of Henry and Neo Furiato. Ron served in the United States Air Force for 6 years, from 2001 to 2007. Some notable information: served as an explosive ordnance disposal technician for his first 4 years, then as a criminal investigator for the last 2 years. Mr. Furiato, thank you for your service. All right, next up is Frank Nardone, grandfather to Hudson and Claire Cowan. Big cheers out there. Served in the Army for 2 years, from 1971 to 1973. Some notable information to share: aerial photography and open helicopters during Vietnam. So let's thank Mr. Nardone for his service as well. Okay, next up is Gregory Fye, grandfather to Mac, Jenna, Taylor, and Cole Fye. Served in the United States Army for 4 years, and some notable information: served in Germany. Mr. Fye, thank you for your service. Okay, next up is Becky Fulmer, mother of Sandy and Billy Fulmer. Served in the United States Marine Corps for 13 years, from 2005 to 2018. Some notable information: served with the MWSS 472 in Pennsylvania and CLC 36 in Japan. Ms. Fulmer, thank you so much for your service. Okay, next up is Michael Yawn, father of Cooper and Maddie Yawn. Michael served in the United States Marine Corps for 4 years. Let's thank Michael for his service. All right, next up is Alan Milstein, grandfather to Sadie and Miles Milstein. Alan served in the United States Marine Corps for 4 years, from 1964 to 1968. Some notable information, he received a Purple Heart. So let's give Mr. Milstein a big round of applause and thank you for your service. All right, next up is James Pudliner, grandfather or Papa to Catherine Pudliner. Served in the Army for 4 years from 1976 to 1980. Some notable information, served for 4 years, as we mentioned, was promoted to first lieutenant and finally captain upon discharge in the Army Reserve. Started in the 331 Transportation Company in charge of LARC 15 amphibious vehicles stationed at Fort Story, Virginia on Virginia Beach. Later he became the battalion training officer and motor officer, and finally the executive officer of the 368 Terminal Service Company. The mission was to unload naval ships and bring Marines and their equipment onto the beachhead and farther inland. Virginia Beach and the Chesapeake Bay were great training areas for the mission. Let's thank Mr. Pudliner for his service. All right, next up is Norman Greet, father of Mrs. Beaver, our very own Mrs. Beaver. Served in the United States Army for 2 years from 1969 to 1971. Some notable information, stationed in Heidelberg, Germany, and sang in the Army Men's Force. Thank you, Mr. Greet, for your service. Continuing with the West Vincent family thing, we get to honor Barry Fainall, who's the grandfather of Miss Jennings. Mr. Fainall served in the Air Force National Guard for 6 years. Thank you very much for your service. All right, next up is Christian Scheidel, father of Liam Biancona. Served in the PA Army National Guard for 4 years from 2018 to 2022. Some notable information. Served in the 11B Infantry, the 111th, also Benjamin Franklin's Associators. Participated in Operation Secure Philadelphia. Christian, thank you so much for your service.
I'll find one.
Okay. All right, so next up is Stephen Voda, great-grandfather of Liam Biancona. Served in the Army for 6 years from 1965 to 1971. Some notable information: monitored radio traffic of Russian vessels disguised as fishing trawlers off the coast of New Jersey. Mr. Voda, thank you so much for your service. All right, next up is Belinda Schaefer, grandmother of Jackson Pignoli, served in the Army for 5 years. Mrs. Schaefer, thank you for your service. All right, next up is John Denicola, grandfather to Ada Denicola, served in the PA National Guard for 7 years from 1973 to 1980. John, thank you so much for your service. All right, next up is Edward Curran, grandfather of Genevieve Jones, served in the Navy for 2 years from 1965 to 1967. Some notable information: in the Navy as a bosun's mate during the Vietnam War, stationed in San Diego, would transport Marines from Okinawa to Da Nang. So, Mr. Curran, thank you so much for your service. All right, next up is Nick Delicio, grandfather of Grayson and Olivia Delicio. Served in the United States Army for 3 years from 1966 to 1969. It says 1696, that was a long time ago. Some notable information: was a pharmacist in New Mexico and Okinawa. Mr. Delicio, thank you so much for your service. All right, so last but certainly not least, we get to honor Dan Kelly, father of Claire Kelly, who served in the Army, served for 36 years in the Army as an active duty U.S. Army infantryman. Spent more than 20 years overseas for operational and combat tours to include Afghanistan, Iraq, Bosnia, Kosovo, North Macedonia, Egypt, Korea, Germany, and Australia. Mr. Kelly, thank you so much for your service. All right, everybody, and now Now let's give our veterans another huge round of applause. And so now, our second grade friends are here to present links of appreciation to our veterans. So let's give them a round of applause as well.
Make sure everybody gets one. There we go. You're good? See you later. Did everybody get one? Yeah? Everybody good? All right. Joy. Joy.
All right, just making sure all of our veterans got their links of appreciation.
Good job. Thank you.
All right, thank you, second grade.
Good job.
And so now we get a special performance from our first grade students called Little Poppies.
Okay, first grade, are you ready? All right, keep your eyes on me. Do you see me? Do you still see me? Do you still see me?
All right, everybody. Well, we are about to bring our assembly this morning here to a close, but before we do, I ask our students and staff to please rise and face our veterans and give them a standing ovation for their service to our country. Students and staff, you may have a seat just for a moment once again to wrap up our assembly this morning. So veterans, once again, I truly hope you feel honored, appreciated, and loved. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for your service. It truly means a lot to each and every one of us, as you can tell. So we are grateful for everything that you've done for us. you have an opportunity, if you have some time, to be able to stay at West Vincent and head down to classrooms to go do some visiting for a while, see your students in their classroom spaces, and they would have some questions to ask as well too. So maybe do a little bit of an interview down there as well. So at this point, staff members, if we can start to release the students back to classrooms, and then we're going to start getting everything set up for lunch as well too. Thank you again, veterans, and happy Veterans Day.